Charles is just fantasy anyway.
Good evening, and welcome to Season 1, Episode 5 of Let's Talk Shop with Russ. And I'm Russ, if you haven't figured that out yet. So tonight we're going to be visiting with Jason McGinn in his shop, and he's going to talk about doing some turning. He said he don't have a lot of experience with it, but he's got a lot more than me because I've turned 2 things in my entire life. So we'll get some information from him. We'll go down the list real quick. You can give a brief introduction and tell us where we can find you at. So I'll start from my left, and the first one on my left is Mr. Chris.
Hey, Chris O'Hearn here. You can find me on Facebook under Chris O'Hearn, or the Old Cranky Workshop. Also on YouTube under Chris the Wheeler.
Next is Mr. John Cousins.
Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm more of a scroller than anything else, specialized in spiral blades. I'm up in northern Alberta, in Grand Prairie, Alberta, Canada. That's about it. You can find me on Facebook under John P.A. Cousins, or on my Facebook page, Would If I Could. Thanks a lot.
Next in line we have Mike from Miter Mike's Wood Shop.
Yeah, I'm Michael Murray with Miter Mike's Wood Shop. The easiest way to find me is www.mitermikeswoodshop.com, and that'll have all my links to my YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest.
Next in line is Mr. Russ Meadows.
Yeah, I'm the other Russ.
The other Russ.
And you can find me on Facebook under Russ Meadows, or Facebook page Maritime Wood Workers. And I too, like the other Russ, I've only turned 2 things in my life and messed up 1.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to turn a 7. I didn't have one, and rather than going to the store, I turned this. Tried to turn a 7/8 inch wooden dowel. It turned out pretty good, but the wood was real rough. And I posted 2 pictures on Instagram. The second time I've ever used Instagram. And I got more people telling me I didn't know how to turn because the wood looked rough and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, my God. Like, give me a break here, dude. I've never used a lathe, and I've never posted on Instagram. I'm getting hammered by everybody. So next in line is Mr. Tommy G.
Yeah, I'm Tommy Gonzalez. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, all under Tommy G Workshop.
And then he just joined us, Mark. Mr. Mark, what is it, Woodmark? I think it is.
I'm Mark Christopher from Woodmark. You can find me on Facebook at Woodmark and Gale. And I'm on Twitter at MG Christopher. I'm from Newfoundland. I live in Nova Scotia now, and I'm primarily a pen turner and a whirligig maker.
A pen turner and a whirligig maker. And guess what? Just came in the mail.
Oh, you got it! Excellent.
Yep, I got it. So this will be joining the sticker board. And Chris, I still haven't gotten yours yet. So I don't know. He lives out in California in the United States or what, and he can't even get me a sticker. And I get this one from Canada.
I'll mail it tomorrow. It's sitting right here on my workbench. I just keep forgetting to take it out.
Okay. And then I'm Russ Clarity. You can find me, Simply Wooden Creations, on Facebook, Twitter. Actually, it's Simwood something on Twitter. It's not the full thing. They won't let me put the whole big long word in there. On Facebook, what did I say? YouTube. I'm on YouTube. And I have my own website, Simply Wooden Creations. So I guess we'll get down to the show and find out everything we need to know that we probably didn't know from the expert himself, Mr. Jason.
First of all, expert is very loose term.
You can tell everybody where we can find you, by the way, also.
Sure. You can find me at McGinn's Wood Shop. I'll actually type it down below here once I'm done talking. At www.mcginnswoodshop.ca, and you can get all my YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram links from there. I also do a weekly show, the Maritime Wood Workers. It's like an hour and a half before the show, or sorry, half an hour before the show. So yeah, you can check us out at Maritime Wood Workers.
Yeah, I think you're with Matt. If you want, Matt, and isn't Trevor on there also? Part of that.
Yeah, we got Trevor, Matt. Well, Mark is there.
Yep, Mark.
A group of us starting.
Yep.
We're spreading out.
A whole bunch of the Canadian brother woodworkers.
Yeah.
Cool. So I've got a question for you. How much, just as a basic, if I wanted to go out and buy a set of tools, how much am I probably looking at to spend on a basic set of tools that will get me started turning?
Well, I'll tell you, when I first started off, someone told me, don't cheap out on your tools, you'll regret it. And I said, for $30, I'm going to see if I'm going to regret it. And, well, I'm going to see what I can modify that metal into. Because I only put a little bit extra money. I put $100 down, and I got myself a nice high-speed steel set. And basically, I think, as far as I understand, high-speed steel is really the direction you need to go. I'm sure the quality of the steel is lower than regular, but stay sharp. And I mean, I sharpen my tools maybe once every month and a half, but don't tell anybody that.
Wow, once every month and a half?
Yeah. I think
Right.
Mark sharpens his. It depends what you're doing too, though. And Mark, when he's turning certain wood, he'll have to sharpen it every 5 minutes just to keep an edge sometimes. But
Well, let's put it this way. I bought a set of tools, and I pretty much have to sharpen them every time I use them. So
see, I probably should sharpen them more, but I just don't.
So either one of two things. Either I don't know what the heck I'm doing, or they're a crappy set of tools. It's probably a little both.
Maybe. I find like I got these from Kijiji, like the secondhand online thing. I got these Robert Thorby's, and that's like $100 for one of them or something. I don't know, but anyway, I paid like $75 for 3 of them, and this tool keeps its edge just as much as that. I got 9 high-speed steel turning tools for $100. That's for Americans, I think it's Harbor Freight, and Canada it's like Busy Bee and Canadian Tire.
Well, see, that's where I got mine from was Harbor Freight, but I swear every time I use the darn things, I got to sharpen. They get so dull.
Huh. Well, turning metal will do that.
Yeah, I would bet, but I mean, I'm serious. I guess I got the worst version of all Harbor Freight tools, so I'm really interested in looking up, moving up to the Easy Wood tools. I've heard a lot of good things about those. So
yeah, my buddy Matt Brander, the bearded woodworker, he actually got a set of those and loves them. Like he just and actually he has to be careful because now he goes back on this. And he has to slow down because the Easy Woods just dig right in, like smoothly dig in. But you know these you can't just push.
wow. So now, is it a different? Because I want to get into turning. Is it a different set of tools that like? Are the wood pin turning tools smaller than the other tools?
No, they don't have to be. I think there are smaller tools that you can buy, but I really don't think you have to be. I mean, I use my basic. I think this is a 3/4 inch gouge.
Yeah.
And I use that for trimming it down to a cylinder. And then I'll usually actually get it down close with this too, unless it's a really loose grain. And then I'll use something smaller and sharper because I just, kind of trying to. The way I picture it is I got more friction, more blade touch in it here. If it's loose grain, I have more chance of catching and blowing it up. But I would say no, just get normal tools.
Now, what else am I going to need if I'm, like I said, I'm going to, I'm like everybody else is being so quiet on here. I'm like, geez.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Mark, if anybody can correct me, please open up. I'm not afraid. I barely, I got experience, but I'm not.
Like for my pen turning, I very rarely use anything other than a 3/4 gouge, and I go down to like a fingernail's thickness off the bushing with that, and I bought an Easy Wood tool to try it. Jason was over at the house here one night. Him and Matt liked it. It's a completely different animal than like a roughing gouge. The position of it and the geometry of it is totally different. I'm just a dumbass and can't really figure it out. But the 3/4 roughing gouge is all I use, and I've done everything, like bottle stop and T handles and pens. I've done it all with a 3/4 gouge. Jason had alluded to some of the wood that I work with. It came off of a sailing ship, and it was heavily impregnated with salt. And using the gouge on that type of wood, and it was actually a mixture of oak, teak, and mahogany with salt embedded into it. And I basically had to turn on the grinder, and I would get 2 or 3 passes on the piece of wood, and then have to touch it up on the grinder. So I never even shut off the grinder.
Well, that's kind of like what I'm thinking might happen or might be with mine, is that the Harbor Freight, and I realize, when I bought them, I did not expect a high-end tool, so to speak. A friend of mine gave me a lathe, and it's not a bad lathe. I can turn up to like 4 foot, and it's a variable speed, but you have to change the belt to the different pulleys. But it was free. Free for me, and it works. So it works quite well in all sincerity. So I just figure I'll go down and buy these cheap set of Harbor Freight tools just to try it for a few times and see where it goes from there. But I'm really looking towards, and you bring up a good point, Mark, since I don't have a lot of experience with the tools, so to speak, I might be better off, since they're supposed to be so much better, going ahead and getting the Easy Wood tools and learning how to use them, and then I won't have to struggle like you're doing, so to speak, to make that change from the old style to the new style.
It's the same as when you're scrolling. If you're a fan of spiral blades and go over to the straight blade. I started with straight, discovered spiral, and have since discovered that I can't do straight anymore. I'm a pretty twisted guy anyway. But yeah,
that didn't sound too good.
It is a huge difference, and you're right. If you don't have a lot of experience with it, you know what? Easy Wood might be the way for you to go, and be able to create and make quality turnings without the frustrations.
Yeah.
I would also just like to add, if you are going Easy Wood the carbide tip, I would look at multiple types of carbide tip tools, because I don't know if there's a huge difference between Easy Wood carbide and El Cheapo with carbide tip blade. Like I was saying before, you could spend extra, say, on a rubber Sorby, but high-speed steel is high-speed steel as far as I understand. And so when it really comes down to it, carbide tip is a carbide tip, and if you can get it cheaper, I don't know. Because Mark's seen the only thing with Mark's smaller tool is that the handle's so short, you feel uncomfortable holding it. I really think if Mark put a longer handle on it, it would help a lot in the feeling comfortable while you're turning.
I'm just looking at the Easy Wood site right now, and there's like 7 or 8 different varieties of tools to get, and they're ranging from $60 to $140 a piece. And they're carbide tips, though. The carbide tip replacements are like $20 a piece.
Yeah, they're all the Easy Wood tools, from my understanding, are carbide tipped, and you can buy the. Now, I've been told, I've known several people that have made, and some of you might remember who it was, made their own Easy Wood tools and just ordered the tips off of Amazon and made their own. So that's also a possibility. I don't know. I just figure, I would try a set of them.
You're looking at the
sharp on them, right?
Go ahead, Jason.
If you're looking in the make your own direction, I was looking that way too, and I'm still looking at it. You can get, the planer, the planers that use carbide. I think Matt Cremona has one. And those, you can buy a pack of 10 for like $70, and they're carbide tips, and they have the hole in the center, just like the square ones.
For the
Again, I don't know enough about carbide tips, but to me, carbide tip's carbide tip, and if you could put that on the end of a piece of steel, why not?
Yeah, I can't remember who it was, but somebody made a set using square steel tubing. I remember the video; it was on YouTube, and I wish I could remember the guy that made them. But square steel. He made his own wooden handles, and then he just bored a hole and attached the. And actually had to grind the end down, but he attached the carbide tip thing to it, and they seem to work perfect. And I don't know. I don't mind making things for myself. I make a lot of tools and different things, jigs and stuff for myself. But that's outside of my genre, so to speak. When I'm wanting to lay stuff, I don't know if it would work or not.
Video, but I can't remember who did it either.
I thought it was Ema.
I think it was Aaron. Wasn't it Aaron Day from Make Crazy Days? Was that him?
Yeah, I don't remember.
I think it was him. But I have here a half inch that Chris Martin had sent me, which I'm going to make a handle for, and then I'm going to make a set of my own tools, and then this tool I'm going to hand off to another person that wants to start using them. I had purchased the small set from Rockler to do my pens, the carbide steel, the carbide tips, and I mean, if they were a lot cheaper on sale when they had a good sale than it was from Easy Wood Tools, so that's why I went with that one.
Just 1 second, Sterling. He said Sterling still can't get on, but he put on there. You can get easy wood tool tips at Klingspor online for $14. And he said that apparently they need to be the square tubing, the square shafts to attach the ends to them. So thanks, Sterling. I appreciate that. I'm trying to look and see. If y'all see me looking, or if you'll go to talk to me and I'm acting like I'm not paying attention at that split moment, I might not be, because I'm trying to. People are posting questions to me on Facebook, and I'm also trying to watch it over here on YouTube. So I'm not trying to be rude. I just got a lot of things going. Sorry. So, all right, back to Jason. What else? Yeah. Don't you have to have a mandrel or something that if you're going to turn pins also?
Yeah, depends on the, you know what, I'll switch cameras here. It'll make it a little easier to demonstrate. But basically you need a mandrel like this. And what that does, you get them in two different sizes. It depends on the taper of your actual lathe. And that taper is the inside here. So when this goes in, you can see this taper. That's called an M1. You can get another one called an M2, which is a little bit bigger. So mine takes an M1, so I got a mandrel, M1 mandrel. And there's multiple kinds of mandrels, and the only difference is the thickness of the actual shaft. And that is because I got kits everywhere here. Sorry.
Yeah, it's kind of like wild. But I'm looking at your wood lathe, and it's a lot like the one that guy gave me. Yeah, a lot. Yeah, the adjustment on your not away from the motor, I guess, on the other end, the tail, not the tail, but anyway, the other section. No, the other end. The adjustment, yeah, that round black knob is exactly like the one on mine.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the size of these mandrels are based on the different pen kits that you get. Come with different tubes, and they'll fit the mandrel. So this one here fits this one, doesn't fit this one. And it'll tell you right on the package which one you got to use. And that way, when you have your blanks and you have your tubes inside them, and it's all drilled out and ready to go, they slide onto the mandrel.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, and then the other component that you'll need to know about is a thing called bushings. Sorry, I'm getting some feedback. So I got a bunch of these bushings. And it's basically just a bunch of metal little collars. And they go on the mandrel. So then when you put your blank on, you turn it down to the actual bushing, and that's the thickness of the pen needs to be at that spot.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
So
Cool.
you just, yeah, you buy your different bushings for the different pen kits that you want to turn, and it sets you up that way.
Cool.
There is one other option you don't really have to take, because you can see the end here is threaded, of the mandrel is threaded. So you can either screw a bolt onto this, which comes with the mandrel, or you can use what's called a tail saver, and it's just basically a hole that goes in the opposite end, and you can hold it this way, and it turns with it.
Now, do you have to have the tail saver, or that's optional?
If that's optional, because you can also, like, there's, like I said, there's like a little metal. I got one in here. One of these, and it just screws on. But see, they call it a tailstock saver because this is your tailstock, by the way, the end here. Inside here, there's what's called a live center. It's like a little spoke sticking out.
Yes.
And that'll stick into the end of this, which will dull it down from running on it. So that's why they call it a tail saver.
Oh, cool.
I got a question on that. I've noticed that the ones that are turning the pins, they're using the small lathes. Can you? I got that bigger Harbor Freight one. Can you turn the pin on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
4 foot wide. No problems.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter the size of your lathe. Something that can get awkward is your tool rest.
Right.
I actually cut mine because it was too wide for sitting between when the when the mandrel's in. So I cut a bit of it off so that I could fit it in between this black end here and this end.
Okay.
Russ, one of the other things that Jason was just talking about, you know, for every pen kit, there's a different set of bushings. And there's nothing worse than getting them mixed up, because a lot of them, you're only talking a couple of thou in the difference. And if you ever spill them, and you're trying to figure out what bushing belongs to what, it becomes a royal pain. One of the tricks that I picked up was I went to the dollar store and I got these the shower curtain rods, and I picked up the little key tags for $1 from the dollar store too, and I take, like, this particular one. I don't know if you can see this or not. That's got that's for a bullet cartridge twist pen. That's the part number, and what I do is I just take the bushings and I put them all on that ring, so I know that all of these are that particular pen. If I walk away from the pen when it's still on the lathe, or if I left the bushings on the lathe, what I do is I actually take this and hook it onto the lathe, so that I know that the next time I go and look at the lathe, if I happen to be away from it for a while, I know exactly what bushings are sitting on there. And it's just a way to keep all your bushings together.
That's actually a fantastic idea. Because I'm the idiot that would spill them all over the floor and spend hours trying to figure out what the heck was going on. So
Yeah.
Same here.
yeah, that's a great idea. And those are just you get them from the store for shower curtains. I recognize them as soon as you held one of them up, and I'm like, dang.
The other thing I do too, if you get these parts bins, you can get a whole bunch of them from Harbor Freight or Princess Auto or whatever. And what I do is, for every kit, I have, like, this one here is for a Triton. It's a 12.5mm drill bit and a Z drill bit, and the minimum size blank I need. And what I do is I take the drill bits that are associated with this particular kit, and anything else, any of the other tooling, or the cutter head. Like, here's the end mill cutter that goes with this particular kit. So they're all sitting in there, and that's where I keep the key tag, so that everything I need to turn this particular pen is right here. And I've got I don't know if you can see it there over my shoulder. where is it? There it is. Over my shoulder with the colored baskets there. It's a rolling rack that's blocked with these. One side is filled with wood blanks. The other one is filled with all the kits and the tooling and stuff. But that's actually a great way just to keep everything organized. When you first start, everybody starts with slim lines, and then it's like, okay, well then I'll try something else, and I'll try something else, and all of a sudden you got parts all over the place, and you're like, what the heck? Where the heck is everything for this particular one? Or if you end up having, a whole crap load of drill bits, like what goes where?
Yeah.
So it cuts down on the research time too.
Cool.
Yeah, and you mentioned, Mark mentioned the end mills. That's, if you look at my blank there, it's got like a circle drill in.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see that.
Basically what it is, this is a 7mm hole. So there's a 7mm shaft that goes down, and at the end of it, there's just a drill bit basically, and it mills it. What it does is, because the shaft goes in, it mills it perfectly parallel, or perpendicular, I guess, to the hole. So that way, you're going 90 in, and your pen ends up with no little gaps on the side when you clamp it together.
Awesome. Cool. I already feel like I'm a professional.
There you go.
Also with that tailstock, the tailstock saver, if you have a regular tailstock and you put it into the end of the mandrel, sometimes people tighten it down too much and you'll start to bend that. So that's why it's better to use the tailstock saver.
Oh yeah, I love that thing. It also saves time on setup.
Yeah, I'll get a list of everything I'm going to have, and I'll probably end up ordering it when I get started on it. It's one of those on my to-do list. Right now, I'm doing that dead burn, trying to finish up that dead burn birdhouse I'm working on. So
if you're in Canada, it's worth looking at penblanks.ca.
Okay.
That's where I get all my stuff.
Yeah, that's what we use up here. Down there, Penn State Industries is one, but Ryan over at woodturnings.com, and there's no S in it. It's a Z or a Z, as you say down there. But woodturnings.com is another good place to go.
Very good. Anybody else on the panel got any questions?
Sure, I've got a
You
question.
mostly work in, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just wondered if you did work mostly in wood for the pens, or do you do the acrylic? I've seen a lot of real nice looking acrylic pens.
Yeah, I got some really cool. Every time I order from this place, they send me an acrylic blank, but I've never actually turned one yet because I like turning wood.
Yeah.
So
I saw that there's particular veinings in them. They look really nice.
Oh yeah, they're really sharp. Actually, I got one right here. Thing.
Jason, I used the same place, and yeah, he's right. Yeah, actually, I've got both of those, but I turned one of them and didn't like it at all because unless you like the smell of burning plastic. That's the downside. I love the blanks and the colors and the variants that you can get, but it stinks. If anybody's ever drilled antler or any kind of a biologic, any kind of bone or anything, it stinks. But this is a whole other kind of stink. This is just straight burning plastic, I find. So that's why I prefer the wood.
Well, I have a lady on my mail route that her and her husband both do some sort of woodworking. But she turns pins, and she took me in her house, and she showed me her supply of pins, and a lot of it was acrylic. And she found out that I was doing scroll sawing and woodworking. She asked me if I'd turn pins, and she got to talking real fast. Where do you get your supplies? And she didn't even give me time to think. And I said, I haven't turned a pin yet. But I had the capability, but I just hadn't done it. And I thought she was trying to fish out of me where I'm getting my stuff, and if I'm going to do a better job than her and charge more. So I didn't tell her anything. I didn't have nothing to tell her.
Or you could always undercut her by $5.
Well, that was another one of her complaints, I'm sure. But she did some good work, and the pins were outstanding.
I think Tommy had a question. He was.
Yeah, I've never ever done turning before, but I've been very interested in doing it, and I've come very close to getting a lathe from Harbor Freight, but I've been kind of hesitant because I don't know if it's one of those tools from Harbor Freight that's just going to make it more difficult and kind of turn me away from turning. Is the lathe from Harbor Freight? Does anybody know if it's decent?
I have it.
I have the
I have it
small
too.
one.
I have the big one.
Yeah, I got the smaller one, the bench mount. I've had no problem with it. It lines up perfect. Only problem I've had is finding a set of jaws that will fit on it properly. You know, you go to Woodcraft, and I'm not sure what size to give you. Brian gave me a link to one, but I'm not spending $4 bills on the jaws. I only spent $100 on the lathe.
I've read a lot of things about them that people have used them on different forums and stuff, and so far everybody said that they work pretty doggone good for their price. Yeah. I think even, if I'm not mistaken, if Sterling's still out there, I think Sterling Davis has one.
Yeah, he has the big one.
Yeah, he has
with the head that turns.
So if you're still out there, Sterling, I'm watching over here on YouTube. Post if you're still listening and got tell us what you think of the Harbor Freight lathe.
And by the way, Russ, you might have been thinking of Zach Higgins about that tool that he made. I know he's made one of those easy wood tool.
Zach Higgins.
Yeah, Zach.
Yeah, he's with the NV Woodworks. So that's where I get my my acrylic blanks. I have a couple of blanks here. I got to do the police and the firefighter.
Like, Mike, if you got a chance to look up that on while we're talking real quick and post it over here on the group chat, I'll tell everybody about that so they can look at that, because that was pretty interesting. I mean, I watched the video and I was like, wow, you can make it on your own. All right, let's get back to Jason, because I think Jason is going to learn something for us. Are you about ready to start that?
I can do that, yeah. Actually, what I was going to do is more give, like, I'm not going to turn anything in particular. Oh, well, I guess I could.
Well, I mean, I didn't know what you had set up. I knew you were going to do some turning, but what you had set up, something just to show us the tools and stuff?
Yeah, well, basically, I was just going to show you a couple tools and how I do them and how I use them together to make a curve, and then different kinds of curves and why. And like, and you know what? I may be doing it wrong. I don't know, because again, I do a lot by feel and just how it works for me.
Here's the thing: if you do it wrong, I damn sure won't know.
But hey, it works for me, so I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, let me switch cameras here.
I think the only wrong way is using the butt end of the tool. Other than that, it's however you use it.
Using the wood rather than the steel end.
The first thing I did here, I don't know if you can see it. This light kind of sucks, but I measured out every inch. I was going to do millimeters, but then I thought it'd screw everyone up.
No, we can see it.
And the best way, especially I guess if you're just completely new, I'll take a pencil and I'll set it on the mark, and then I'll turn the lathe on and let it make the line. So that way you make a straight, perfectly round line every time. Well, most of the time. So what I do first, well, when I'm truing it down, I use my bowl gouge, and that's to grab the big, and I usually set it like the U, and like with this open, and what I'll do is I'll set it down, and at first, of course, it's going clunk, 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 right? So I'm going to bring it down and slowly pull it back into this bevel angle should match the round as you touch and bring it in, and you should hit about center with your round, or yeah, something like that. so yeah, and you use these tools different ways. So anyway, so once you get it around and it's down to a cylinder, I'll use something like a parting tool. So if I want to make something like a little lump here, then first I'll have to set a depth. So I'll do that first. And I don't know if it's too loud. Maybe I can mute myself while it's on.
No, it's not too loud for me. Well, I mean, it might be loud. What you were talking about when you turn lathe.
Yeah, mute me if you're whatever.
All right.
But yeah, I'll turn down to a depth, and then I'll show you what I mean by, like, I'll make a curve by setting my depths. Okay, so here I made two different depths just so you can see the transition, because I don't have a line there anymore. And so what I'll do is I want to bring this down as a taper going down this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this one's already is at the width I want it to be, and then I'm going to bring it down in obvious steps first. So now you can see I have these like steps. Here a second, I'm trying to. There, you can see I got these like steps here, right? Going down.
Right.
And then, so now I have that established. I could have measured this and got it to whatever I wanted it to be. And I just kind of went from as big as I want to be to as small as I want to be in the area I want to be. So now, if I want to make that a curve, it makes it real easy.
You use calipers for that?
That's going to say you use calipers.
Yeah, I could use a caliper if I wanted to. Shit, a sec. Can I say that on here? Shit.
You just did, so it's live. It's not like I can bleep it.
Well, yeah, I could have used my caliper to get the depth that I want it to be at and wideness, but I was just for demonstration. I'm just kind of making it quick. But yeah, I use a caliper a lot. In fact, I got like 3 calipers here, different kinds of calipers too. So I got this step down to the lowest and the highest points that I want it to be in the distance. And now what I'll do is I can take like a round nose kind of thing. I think this is a bull gouge. It's called. I don't know. It looks more round than the rest of them. The other ones are like V's. And I'll take this and I can follow, again with the bevel, follow the bevel all the way down into and make this a curve. And so now I've quickly made a tapered curve. Here, I'm trying to get it so you can see it best. But now I quickly made a tapered curve that adheres to specific sizes, and it's nice and smooth. So that's just kind of a quick, how you can put some shapes into it. And I'll tell you the best way I've gotten into learning the lathe is by doing I take a piece of wood like this, put it on, and make a candlestick, make a lamp, make a pipe, make a whatever it is you want to make that's cylinder, and just cut it out and practice making shapes. Candlesticks are the best because there's no specified shapes or whatever. Anyway, any questions on that?
Well, that's actually it's pretty doggone self-explanatory. I was like, wow, I never seen anybody do that as far as bring it down into the steps and then taper it down. So
Yeah. I've always tried to dig my way in.
Yeah, I've done that a lot, and that's been my path. But I find that just helps me be very accurate, especially if I'm trying to copy something. Because that's been one of my goals lately, is to try and copy something exactly, but I've never been able to do that yet.
you see, that was one of my questions. Is once you make one of something, how in the heck do you duplicate it? You know what I'm saying? It's like,
well, some people use what's called a memory stick,
Or a duplicator.
right? Or a duplicator if you've got money.
Yeah.
They'll take a stick and say this is a dowel that I want to make between for a crib, or I don't know, something small, a little basket or something. I could actually mark off on this piece of wood the different spots that I want to mark, and then you take your what you call a story stick, you put it up to it, and then I can just transfer my marks over.
okay, yeah.
You know, and you can even have the curvature cut here, say your scroll saw, and put it up so that you can kind of try and match it as well, right?
Yeah.
Just visual.
I've used that a lot too in certain work or whatever in construction. I call it a story pole, but a story pole story stick, and that way you don't have to measure anymore. You've got the exact measurement on that pole, and you just lay it down and mark it.
Up here in Canada, we just use sticks, though.
Yeah, sticks. We get poles down here
with pucks. All right, so what I'll do now is then I'll straighten this off, and then I'll show you using I make little like bead kind of things, and it's just kind of adding design and flair. I actually started adding them to my pens. I think I might have one handy. I just think it looks kind of cool. There's one. See, I add little burn marks. Little round, just little, like they're little indents. I don't know what you call them. But anyway, I'll show you how to do that. So I'll just straighten this off, and then I'll go at it. So I use this for straightening because it has a long flat blade, and I just kind of use it this way as like a scraper kind of idea. And so it lets me do straight lines better. Okay, so this here is called a parting tool, or a skew chisel, sorry. Skew chisel, that's the name, I believe. If anybody can correct me, please do. But basically it's just a sharp blade right to the tip, and it's got kind of a taper to it. What I do with that is I can open up spots. So say I want to open up a little V groove here. I'll come straight on it, and then I'll turn it slightly to the 45 that way and 45 that way, and just open up a V. Of course, I could have done that as wide of a V as I want. You can make it as narrow as you want, like on the pens, or as wide as you want, just depending on how much you dig in and how much you angle it.
Pretty doggone cool.
Yep.
Big thing too, Russ, is even if you had a piece of 2x2, any kind of piece of wood at all, just put it on the lathe and just start playing with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's one of the problems I have, though. Like I said, I've got to get a better set of tools because these Harbor Freight tools, they're just not cutting it. I mean, I used the gouge on one project, and when I went to use it on the second project, it was like dull already. I had to turn around and resharpen it, and I know good and well. And that's when I only turned that 7/8 inch wood dowel, so to speak, for a project I needed. So I know the wood, it shouldn't have gotten dull that quick, that easy.
Hey,
I
Russ,
have the
what
same
set do you?
set.
Which set do you have? Because at my Harbor Freight, there's two different sets when I was looking at them. There was like a $40 one and like a $90 set.
I got the $40.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's the same one I got, and they're junk.
Yeah.
And how many times you sharpen it, it's never gonna keep it.
Yeah,
No.
it just doesn't keep it.
when I was
It's
telling you at
high-speed
first when I
steel,
bought
but it
that,
doesn't keep it.
I bought that cheap set, and then I went and bought a good set. That's exactly the same one I had. Sucks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I was given the lathe. I put it in the back of or had it in the back of my pickup truck. I was driving on the way home, and I went through Harbor Freight, which was on the way, and grabbed the cheapest set I could find to be able to try to turn with it. So, yeah, that's. I mean, regardless of what you say, sometimes you get what you pay for. So they're obviously junk.
Mm-hmm. Bubblegum steel.
Yeah.
Well, Russ, what are you gonna turn on it first? A pen, or are you gonna turn something bigger?
I'm probably going to get into. I really like the idea of pen turning.
Well, you should look into, like I said, when Rockler had their good sale, that small pen set is a lot cheaper than the Easy Wood Tool ones.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't mind spending the money if I know I'm getting a quality product. The cheap set I bought, like I said, I just wanted to bring it home and try it for a little bit. And I'm very interested in, of all the things I've seen turned, I think the most beneficial and the fun project that I could give to people for presents, like Christmas gifts and stuff like that, would be the pens. So that's what I'm probably looking at.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Jason.
Oh, I was just gonna say candlesticks are real nice, quick.
Yeah, candlesticks, yeah. I didn't even think about that until you started talking about candlesticks. I'm like, dang.
Bottle stoppers are a big one too.
Yeah.
Oh, and those real simple one is those the hairpins.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Well, can y'all put in a description down there places to go look at to get some of these items? Because I won't remember them if you say them. Or put them in the chat or something.
But you're older than I am, so your memory's worse.
You're right. I asked Charlie for some of his knowledge, and he sent me his forgetfulness.
You also have to take, Jason, I don't know if you want to show them the different angle for the carbide versus regular.
Yeah, I could actually. I'll just move the camera. Let's see. Oops, the camera's not even on. So.
Yeah, it's on.
No, this one.
Oh.
It's on.
It was on.
Okay, so I like to turn a little high, so I'm gonna bring it down though to exaggerate it. Let's see if I can do this with two hands. All right. So for a regular turning tool, like the ones I have here, oh my god, just a second, I'm gonna see if I can. Oh my gosh, there we go. This way, I know what I can do. No.
You
You know what? I'll just try and hold it. We'll just do this. We'll wing it.
Jeez, I've only had one beer. What happened?
All right. So when you see the bevel on my tool, the angle at the end of my blade.
Yes.
What you want to do is, as it's coming down, you want that to meet and match, and you'll see them coming from underneath. So I've got like an angle coming from my handle down, and so that angle needs to match your cylinder as you're hitting it, and you're peeling off. So if I'm coming in, I can catch it this way, and turn my tool as I'm going down a slope. Or I can come in this way, turn my tool as I'm going down a slope. You always got to keep the bevel towards the slope and the angle you're hitting. With Harbor Freight, sorry?
That's the main thing that I needed to hear when I first started. I turned my first piece. I had a decent set of tools that I bought at a local wood shop, and they were smaller handled. And I started turning something, and I didn't realize that you had to have the bevel toward the wood, and I had the other side. And I burnt this crap out of them things. But then I saw a YouTube video that says always keep the bevel to the wood. I said, oh, it makes more sense.
Yeah.
And then I got to a Harbor Freight Tools, the cheap set, and then that turned me completely off on turning.
Huh.
So
But yeah,
keep the bevel toward the wood.
and the only exception to that rule is the scraper tool, and that's because you use a scraper tool just like you use a carbide tool. So in this case, I would actually raise my. I'm gonna put that down. I would actually raise my tool rest to match center of my cylinder, and with the carbide tip and in this case a scraper, you're coming straight at it, and this is how you cut, just like that. There's no angle. It's straight on. Yeah.
You keep the tool rest lower than the center all the time, unless you're using a scraper.
I do, yes.
Okay, because I have mine in half.
Like, see now, I'll just move it back down a little bit lower here.
Right.
And that'll be for if I'm cut. Well, it wouldn't be that low. Just actually.
Maybe that's part of my problem. I kept it at half height.
Okay, yeah, and you want to keep it as close as you can too, because the farther away from your tool rest you are, the more space of metal you have, and it exponentially, there we go, increases vibrations, and which will replicate onto your work, and you'll see it.
Okay.
So like here, I don't know if you can see how smooth that is. That looks like it's sanded to about 320. And this is a little rougher because I was rougher on it. But so depending on how you get the angle to hit, you really shouldn't need to. Well, if your tool's sharp too.
So how close would you say that your it should be close to your work? A quarter of an inch, eighth of an inch?
Honestly, that's right there. That is about a quarter inch.
Okay.
And it's getting a little far.
Okay.
I'll snug up. Yeah, when this is square, I'll be farther away from it just because I don't want to catch.
Right.
But when I get a cylinder completely true, I can put that up to like a 16th of an inch.
Right. I see what you're saying. Yeah, if you're starting off square, naturally the square pieces are going to be longer, I would say, and so once you get it started turning down to a cement or a cylinder, then you can move closer and closer and closer to it.
Yeah, because there's less variation when it spins.
Right. Over on Facebook, over on YouTube, Clarence Meyer said over there, he said, keep your carbon steel. So I would imagine that's what my set from Harbor Freight was, carbon steel, not high-speed steel.
I had the high-speed steel.
You did?
Yeah, and it didn't. I quickly put them down.
Yeah.
It didn't do very good.
Well, like I said, I understand. There's certain things you can get at Harbor Freight that actually are not too bad. I'm not going to say they're the best food in the entire world, but they're not too terribly bad. But there's other things you can buy that are just nothing but junk. And trust me, I learned that set of turning tools that I bought is a piece of crap.
Yes, sir. I agree with you.
But hey, I turned a couple of things with it, so.
Yeah, I got the $99 set, whatever it was. And, yeah, they're not the greatest. I'll be the first to say that, but I figured they're good enough to learn on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather learn on the cheaper ones than damage a good one.
Yeah, I learned. Don't buy them anymore.
So when I upgrade, I always upgrade. I don't stay with the cheap stuff and try to replace it.
Well, I'm really looking towards the carbide tip. Number one, I've heard a lot of good things about them as far as they hold their sharpness a lot longer, and then when they do get dull, they're a multiple sides, so you can like turn them or whatever, so you can have more than one side to work off of. So that's kind of like, and then I go back to what Mark was talking about earlier. Since I don't have a lot of experience working with the tools that are high-speed steel, I might be better off just going ahead and jumping into the carbide tip type tools and learning on them, because I think that might be the best way to go.
If you are going in that direction, I know there's 3 different basic shapes of carbide tool. And Matt Brander knows the ins and outs of exactly why. Like the round one is for smoothing, and there's like I don't know. He knows all the ins and out reasons. I don't use them, so I haven't paid attention to that. But yeah, get in touch with him.
Cool. Sounds great. We're wrapping down to the last few minutes of the show. Man, I've learned a lot tonight. Thanks, Jason. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really good. And you know what's fantastic about it is even your camera shots. I mean, we could see what you were doing, so that's a thumbs up, buddy. That was really great. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Anybody got any?
All Mark's help.
Anybody got any more questions on the panel? I'm looking over here. I don't see anything on YouTube. The last question I read out, so I don't see anybody else post any more questions. If you're on YouTube and have any another question, we've got couple of more minutes, 2 or 3 more minutes to go here.
Jason, what kind of sandpaper do you use after cutting your lathe? What kind of sandpaper do you use after that?
Oh, actually, very cool. I got this. Yeah, I use regular sandpaper, and usually you can only get up to like 320 in your wood stores. So I go to the automotive section and I get up to 2,000. So that's how I started with my sandpaper. I'll turn and sand up to 2,000. Oh, I always slow down my lathe too when I'm sanding. Mark Christopher recently got me into this, which is this little pack, and it's got all these different grits on it. It's great, especially if you do pens, because they're small, and it's just very convenient to have little rolls of sandpaper, just sitting there ready to dispense.
Cool.
After that, I use the Microman.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. And if you're doing pens, get yourself a set of micro pads for $13, and you can do up to 12,000 grit. And they last quite a while. Mine's had them, 4 months now, and they're getting a little worn. I might need to buy a new pack soon.
One thing I did when I want to sand on the couple of things that I turned is I save a lot of the sandpaper. I'm a sandpaperaholic. Sorry. I don't throw it away until it tears up to the point that I can't use it anymore.
It's good for toilet paper after that.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of scratchy, but yeah. Anyway, I took this. Anytime I have a sanding belt, like my belt sander, I save those. Some of them will break or whatever, and I cut that into, when you held that little roll, those little rolls up, I cut that into like 1-inch strips and made them about, I don't know, about 6-8 inches long, and used that to go around the pieces that I turned. Man, that was really, really, really easy and sharp. So I really like that. So I can see where those little rolls of would work very well.
Yeah, if you grab a piece of wood, you can just put a couple washers and your hacksaw blade, and screw it to the board so it leaves a little bit of the washers, leave a little space between, and you just slide your sandpaper underneath and it tears it like perfect cut every time.
Sounds good. Sounds good. No more questions over here on Facebook. Well, guys, we're at the end of the show. Yep. We started a little late, so I can let it run over a few more minutes. But if nobody has any questions, thanks for everybody on the panel. I appreciate you very, very much. Appreciate you being here. Sorry Sterling wasn't able to get in. I keep looking over there and waiting for him to say something because I see his picture over here. So I'm like, but he keeps his mouth shut. So that's the quietest I've ever seen Sterling.
I'm actually here. I just don't have a webcam.
Oh, you're here. You've been.
Oh, he's here.
Thank God I didn't say anything bad about you, buddy. Yeah, I would be putting my foot in my mouth right about now, but.
No, I think y'all hit everything dead on, and Jason, you done a great job, demonstrating the thing with the carbide tips with the square shafts. And basically all that's for is to keep the tool from turning on you, because it will catch. You'll get a catch in it. So the carbide tips is more of a shaver, which will, give you a smoother cut. But the traditional tools, the Harbor Freight brand, like you've got, Russ, I've got the same thing. The only thing I would say about those is don't let that deter you from turning, because you do get what you pay for. that's why I went with the Easy Wood tools, and I was thankful enough that Easy Wood thought enough of me to get me a set, and I tell you, it made a world of difference in my turning. It is a different technique, it's a different style, but Easy Wood tools is just so easy to work with. It's properly named.
Cool. Now, Tommy was asking the question earlier. I think we answered it, but about the Harbor Freight lathe. So you're saying that that's not a bad lathe. That would be, you would suggest, you could recommend that for people not wanting to spend a lot of money, like break the bank on buying a lathe.
Well, on mine, I use a 25% coupon that I get from Harbor Freight. It is a Harbor Freight lathe.
Right.
Now, to be a what's the word you would use? Just getting into it type lathe. Sure. I mean, if you don't want to go out and spend $3,000 for a Powermatic if you never turned something. You want to try to get a feel for what turning is to see if you know what you want to do. So, I spent $200 for the lathe. Everything that I've expected, it's done for me. So I'm pleased with what I've got. Later down the road, will I upgrade? Sure, because I think I could probably have better accuracy. I think it would, help to have a better tool. But for what I'm doing now and learning the trade of turning with a lathe, I think it's a good investment.
Great. Well, there you have your answer, Tommy. If you're wanting to start out on it, you can try the Harbor Freight. And really, I don't know that I probably would have bought a lathe later on down the road. What got me into it is I have a friend that lives over in St. Petersburg, which is about a 45-minute drive from me, 45, 50 minutes. And we talk, and he was like, I'm buying a new lathe. I've got my old one. Do you want it? And I'm like, well, heck yeah. So I drove over about halfway and met him and bought him lunch for the day. I bought him lunch, and we loaded it in the back of my truck. I came home with a lathe, and it seems it's an older lathe. It's not a Craftsman. It's a different brand name, but it reminds me a lot of the Craftsman. So there we have it. I have a lathe, and now I want to try it and a little bit more. And I'm not going to get discouraged because I pretty well figure that it's the tool's problem. It's not me. I'm a genius. I know that. So it's not me. It's the tool. It's got to be the tool. So
yeah, that was the thing. That was the thing of why I was asking too, because we all know that Harbor Freight, they have some good tools. They have some tools that just make things a living, you know what. But
oh yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't want that to turn me away from just starting out. So it's good to know.
I would trust the lathe, but not their tool.
Yeah, trust the lathe, not the lathe tool. So, all right.
Make like conical cuts, and, like offset in weave cuts and stuff like that on a lathe.
I think you cut out. Can you ask that again?
Does anybody on the panel know how to make like weave cut on a lathe, or an offset cut? You know what I mean? Like a
Yeah,
dag.
you basically. I'm not sure if this is what you're asking, but when you turn something, it's between 2 points, and it gets perfectly cylinder around those 2 points, right?
Yeah.
So if you take your piece and you move one of the center points, and say you just move it slightly down and then into your piece, it'll offset the it'll wobble at that point, and if you turn, then you will turn it offset, and so that part that you turn will be offset.
It's really good for like mallet handles because it has a better fit in the hand.
Yeah, Carl Jacobson has a great video on off turning like that.
Mm-hmm.
So does Peter Freitag at TGIF Woodworking. He's a master of multi-axis turning.
Cool.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, it's time to rock down to the end of the show. Thank you very much, everyone on the panel. Thanks especially for Jason for being here tonight and showing us about the lathe, and everybody else that helped, Mark and Sterling, who were able to answer. And I think Mike answered some questions. I appreciate it, especially for us beginners that are starting out. I don't know, Tommy and myself. I'm just wanting to start out and turn some pins and stuff. So. A lot of good information. Thank you very, very much, guys. I appreciate it. And thanks for everybody watching. I appreciate that. We'll have a show next week. I'll be announcing what it's going to be like, or who's going to be on it in the next few days. So I appreciate it very much. To all the panel, to all you watching, God bless. Have a great day, and if you remember one thing, keep the blade on the line.
Bye.
Bye.